All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. It's Dave Cooper, and this is DaveCooper.live, and we have special guest GarciaStromberg on GS4 Studios. This is awesome, guys, because I've been looking forward to speak with you guys for quite some time on this live show, because you are architects that are world renowned, known across the globe, I should say, from your projects that you guys have been working on. So listen, everybody, if you're just tuning in, we are live on 3 locations: LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And today we are going to be talking about world-class architects coming into the offsite construction community. And right now, as you can see on the screen, we have thank you for George Garcia and Peter Stromberg. Thank you both for joining us. How are you guys today?
Good to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I love it. I love it. So listen, guys, we had quite a few conversations in the past. We've been talking over and over about, how important the movement of offsite construction, I guess that's the wrong way to say it, how important it is for architects and the future of building and traditional builders to start looking at offsite as a solution. And you guys are really ahead of the curve as far as thinking about how do we incorporate this into our business? How do we bring high design, cost-effective design into the world of offsite volumetric modular construction? And one of the big things that we kind of really talked about is that you guys are developer-friendly architects. Who wants to elaborate on that? Because I really want to dive into what that truly means.
So I'll start, and then Peter I'm sure will jump right in. I forgot who made mention of that, which is really we kind of laughed at it a little bit, but I guess that might be true to the extent that we are friendly towards the construction industry. It all began, and we've migrated to the issue of offsite construction by virtue of many years we have focused on from the late 80s when we founded the firm, and Peter joined me, and all of a sudden this took off, and our travels have taken us to understand the value of including in our design process, if we ever had one, which I'm not sure we do, in our design efforts, we consider the ever famous people say, oh no, that's means and methods of construction. Well, we design with means and methods of construction in mind, and we feel that the way to get built what we design, if we do not partake in the process of making the building industry part of our design team, and if they don't allow us to be part of their construction team, we're not going to get what we design built for the budgets that need to be addressed, because this is a business as well, not just a little omen to us and so on. So I think that it begins with that, and so because of that, it gets out there, and they've known, oh, how'd you guys get that done? I didn't know you did that, and so on. And I think that I guess has translated to saying that we understand how to build these things that we design.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think it's that, and in addition to that, it's also bringing in elements of the sales force and sales teams to understand from the very beginning when we start drawing. It's all about a net to gross compilation. It's all about understanding what goes into that building, because at the end of the day, if the developer can't make money at it, then we're not going to build it. I mean, and so we look for ways to do something that can be really interesting and unique, but also give them something that is easy to build and gives them the most value for their dollar at the end of the day. And good design can do that. And then if you can have good design and you cross that with actually sort of very efficient and practical design at the same time, and a practical building, how it's built, then that's, I think, probably coins back to the developer friendly aspect of it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so speaking of that, I mean, you guys are working with some big developers out there. You've been doing this for quite some time. Tell us a little bit about your space. So paint the picture for the audience of what you guys are really strong at.
Peter.
We feel process is a huge part of it. George, started off with, we don't really have a defined process, which is true, because we really We do projects very differently in the studio, and in our studios, we allow for a tremendous amount of flexibility in creative teams, and it's everything from hand sketching to 3D modeling. And we utilize all of the elements of the technologies that we have, as well as the sort of more former elements of painting and sketching and ideas that come out sitting around a round table. That gets formulated, gets put in the computer, comes back out, gets washed again, gets put back in and washed again, 3D printed out, looked at again. And so we're always, and I think that allows our design to be very compatible with things that can be built as well, because we're looking at it from a perspective of a lot of different ways.
Yeah, we're not afraid. We're not afraid to debate. I think it comes from the fact that Peter and I, as much as we've been together for so long, you'd think we'd be just like, oh boy, these guys they agree on everything. Well, I beg to differ. We do not. And it's what really does it for us. Our age difference, we're about 15 years age different. So that means generationally, we think differently. We live a different lifestyle. We do so many things differently. And then yet we can easily come together, debate and produce things. One thing we agree upon is that there is not one solution and like I said, and that there is no process. And we've also come to really not be afraid. And I've said this before to you, Dave, that we can take something way big distance, and just because it's business wise the right thing to do to keep it going, and it might even be the right solution and most economical solution for a myriad of reasons, we're not afraid to abandon the entire concept and start from scratch. I always blame it on Peter that all of a sudden we're really far in one day, and then I think he's kind of looking at the final touches or something. I'll come in the morning and he says, oh, wait till you see what I've got to show you. And I said, this is something else. This is another. And that's how we, and the respect is there and the trust is there, that there was a reason why he stayed up all night and came up with another brilliant idea that we can start, jumping on again.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean, that was one of my favorite stories, because you put so much work into this stuff. It's not, you just don't design, you 3D print, you make models of everything. So to get all the way to the end, and if it's not feeling right for you both to just be like, listen, if it doesn't feel right, it's not going to work for you. And you can at the end of the day say, throw it in the trash, we're starting over. That says a lot, not just about for yourself, but it says a lot for the consumer too, because that just means you care. You're passionate about it.
We have very valuable trash in this studio. We really do. We hang our trash on the walls, and you go, "What's that?" It says, "Well, that's how that project began." Oh, that's interesting. How did it get to where it is today? And then sometimes the stories are too long, but we get a kick out of that because sometimes we'll do it. And when new technologies came into play, and we have holography, we have 3D printing and so on, and then something you think is completely developed and refined, and then you see it in another light, and you go, no, we're not. That's not where we were headed. So we got to kind of take a few steps back.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Again, that's the whole collaboration, and that's why for all these years, the two of you and your team, right? Because there's a team of people with you. It's just not the two of you. And I think that's really important. That's why you have such a strong team, and why you have such a strong commitment, why your projects are moving along. Just so everybody has a little bit of background and why we're in the three, I call it the Brady Bunch mode on the screen right now. You both have a lot of artistic talent behind you. Now, George, I know you say you're not the one that, plays the piano and or any of that stuff, but this is what makes your relationship so symbolic. And I think, can you just real quick just elaborate on that, and then I want to jump into the meat and potatoes afterwards.
Well, as far as artistic talent, it's not very difficult to see. Peter was one of those folks that I envy so much, that he was born with a pencil and a guitar in his hand and a canvas and stuff.
I can see him all behind him.
But behind me, I have his paintings, and then he's got his guitars and stuff. However, I think that the interesting part of it is that I appreciate and enjoy art, music, design, of course, to such a degree that I can critique it, can get involved with it, can visualize it, can talk about it. And I think that creates a synergy that brings us together, that we can talk about things. Sometimes we'll sit And the most powerful tool we have is a bottle of wine, sit down and talk about a project to a degree that we both see it and we both talk about it, and then it begins to happen. And obviously that's where we then, the collaboration, I don't know where the lines are. But obviously I can tell you one thing, that those hands on pencils and so on are something that to me is such a gift that I have in having the ability to collaborate with Peter, because he can do that and we can beat it up back and forth so quickly, and then with the other tools, and then we have 22-year-olds that do things that we want to visualize it further, and then they become a tool for Peter to create even more, and so on. So we call it a spherical approach, where it's not just 360 degrees. We approach design from that holistic mode. That's why we laugh at the fact that there's no process. Some people start with a site plan and a floor plan, and then get into the building, and frankly, sometimes we start with a finished product, or Peter writes a piece of music or does a painting, and that's the beginning of a project.
Well, I appreciate
you
that.
agree with all that, Peter?
Well, I think to go back, we have a team. I mean, we have a lot of, and George, is sitting there in the studio. I'm at my house in my studio at home, and we were just collaborating, and we've been able to, it's interesting during these times, formulate ideas back and forth through iPad sketches and through scans, and we have, and as George was alluding to, we have so many different talents that it's phenomenal, because then you can take a sketch and you can give it to somebody and it comes back and you go, wow, I would have never thought of that, and looking at that way. And then it allows, it really sort of, it creates. So within our studio, we look for that, and that's, and whether it's an intern or whether it's a senior person, and we really, each of us, and it goes to George and I's relationship, we look for what each other's strengths are, and that's how we all just collaborate and pull together. And George and I have said it for many years, if I let him do what he does best, and he lets me do, and we let Roger do, and it's amazing then when everybody comes back together and there's no ego involved, everybody just sits down and gets it done.
Yeah, for sure. And, right before the show, we were talking about how busy you guys are, and right now you are looking for some talent. Did I hear that correctly?
Always.
Yeah, so just put that out there,
we are always, and our most difficult thing to do is, you have to advertise, or you have to get the word out there. You got to write it down. Well, we don't know what we're looking for. We never know what we're looking for. We don't have job descriptions and cards with all kinds of titles and project managers, and there's 3 or 4 of us so that people recognize who we might be. But we're always looking for that. Sometimes we don't even know that we're looking for somebody, and we meet somebody and we go, we gotta hire them, because they fit into the culture so well. But we are, and it's a hard search, because to fit in here, you have to fit in here, and it's because it's a very, very very loose environment, but we are not totally non-structured. I can assure you, we're not in the starving artist program or anything of that nature. We are in business. By the same token, we enjoy, and there's some folks that are early 20s in this office working on $300 million projects, in strong positions in those projects, because that's what they chose to do. And they rolled up the sleeves and they said, can I be involved? And that's fine. We'll let them.
I love it. So if you're out there and you're interested, your culture is amazing, by the way. You can come in and work hard, but you could also walk into an impromptu concert with Peter, right?
Don't touch the wine, though, unless we let you.
Yeah. Right. Well, I love it. And it's in West Palm Beach, Florida. So, hey, who doesn't want to work out of West Palm Beach? So I love it. Let's jump into this a little bit more. So let's get into, let me pull up a banner here to keep us moving through, current partners and projects. One of the things, and I have some notes just to keep me on track, is you have this nautical mixed use boat storage project that you're working on, correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We've done it in a couple different locations. We've done one up in Brooklyn. We've done one in Fort Lauderdale, and we're looking at another one right now. And the interesting thing is we're seeing so many projects go that way, where it's like resort work. Where resort work was once just you go to a hotel and it was a hotel, a restaurant, a pool. I mean, hotels are full of now multi-use facilities, similar to kind of what we're doing at the Boca Resort right now. where it's pretty much an all-inclusive campus, where it has residences, it has hotels, it has restaurants, it has arcades, it has things to keep children on campus. It really kind of becomes a whole mixed use element of it. And down here, of course, in South Florida, you then bring in the boat storage, and you bring in the ability for people to come down and for people to take a boat out for the day, come back in, waterfront dining. Even though the food might be the same as it is when you go downtown, it's a whole different experience and environment. And we have that ability all throughout this area in Florida. So we're finding those mixed use projects really almost becoming and we've developed for over the past 30 years, several of them, but now it seems to be very much part of the course.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful projects, and that's why I'm going to ask you about a couple other ones, right? Because you also have Pier 66, and we'll show some of this stuff on the screen later in the show. I want to bring your website back up and the projects you've been working on. We can just touch base on that again. But tell us, I mean, with Tavistock, they are we had Craig Collins on the show a couple months ago, and they are such forward thinkers. Yeah, on what they do. You can, in one of their communities, you can go to kindergarten and then graduate college all in the same community as a doctor.
They are one of the finest groups of people. Their leadership all the way to the top to Mr. Lewis, and they truly are the kind of client you think about all the time, and then when you get it, you go, well, there's got to be something wrong, because they really subscribe to the things that we describe. They are innovative thinkers. They are collaborative thinkers. They listen. They care about budget and so on. Don't think that for a moment that they just say, okay, whatever you want and so on. But it's so pleasant to have them treat the effort with the respect that we believe that the effort deserves. And we have been blessed with them on the Pier 66 and other opportunities that we're looking with them to do. And one of the things that they allow themselves to do is depart from conventionality, be it the methodology of construction, it's not too far out for them to think. And well, as you can see, the Lake Nona and the Central Florida area that they've been working on, technologies and lifestyles, and they mixed town planning, sort of conventional town planning, with the highest levels of innovation. So we're really excited to work with them.
Dave, I think you're muted.
Yeah, it's really thank you for that. It's really important to kind of highlight these projects, and I'm doing it for a reason. It excites me like no other to have your level of expertise and your design in offsite construction. And I want everybody that's listening, and we'll put up your website, and we're going to show some projects. If you really are looking to take projects to the next level, or you have projects that are currently being worked on that need a better design or a better layout, you guys have the talent to do it, and I can't wait to see what you bring to the offsite world. So I love it. All right, some more of this, right? You're also, what is your role with AC Marriott?
We were involved in the AC Marriott for several years, and it's gone through a few different ownerships, and we were responsible for getting the project approved through the city and doing it. The first thing when we were looking at it with OTO development was when we really started getting into some offsite process in this building, and we wanted to build. We did it for budgetary reasons and time reasons, obviously, in the hotel business, especially too. Every night that you're open sooner is huge. And we looked at actually a cross-pollination of sort of doing standard construction building of the podium, and then actually doing the entire superstructure on top out of modular systems. We went from the entire building being modular at one time, to then actually just doing the bathrooms being modular at one time. And I think OTO would have taken it probably down that route. The project had then sold. It got built a little bit differently, but our thought process on it, and George had gone and visited several locations of different facilities, and it really started our thinking and how we can get a building to be a very organic, fluid type of building, but at the same time built out of these modular components.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, George?
Yeah, we've been, like I said, what has gotten us to this point in terms of the offsite has been our interest in the construction industry and being out in the field and understanding and how things are being put together and why. And I guess I'm going to steal a line from Peter that I still I don't give him credit for it all the time, but when you heard him the other time saying, I came back one day and said, I can't believe that after all these years, I drive by sites or I'm out in the field and I'm watching a guy lay block after block after block of the heaviest pieces of construction material. And Peter's answer was, yeah, you'd think they'd be doing it just like they build cars out in Detroit. And the difference is that the cars don't leak. And I said, oh gosh, and that's so true. So we've gotten so interested because, again, just like any other technology in our firm, we don't assume that the technology is going to design a better project for us and so on. It's not going to be intuitive and innovative, and it's going to think for us, but it's going to allow us to do a lot more thinking. And
right.
if we can control quality, which is what we strive for, when we can have something built and not worry about the liabilities of waterproofing consultants and all the other the people we have to get involved when we're doing conventional construction, when we can have it in a controlled environment and design to precision and design to that kind of quality and then have it assembled correctly, for us, this is just a beginning. Then we're nuts enough to then, believe me when I tell you, this is just a tiny springboard. We're into the studying of robotics and all the other methods are really going to make our lives. I mean, I think this is the beginning of architecture now. I mean, we've learned from so much from what we've been involved with in the past, but applying technologies like prefabrication and prefabrication coupled with technologies, and then the on-site assemblage of it. I mean, we have the world at our feet.
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely do. And that's going to take us into our next subject, some technology. But first, let's take a moment to thank people that are joining us, right? Let's go to some of our banners here and comments. We got people from all over the world. We got Klaus Van Buten from Amsterdam. Hey, Klaus, thanks for joining us today. We got Ron Cisbaro. Hey, Ron, man, good to see you. I hope all is well. Look at that kid. Love it.
Nice shorts.
Up. We got Shane McNutt. Hey, Shane. Good to see you. Shane's with Nudo, guys. So I'm sure you guys should be talking as well. And good old Joel Hutchins. Joel, I hope you are out of quarantine. Joel has made a very, very strong statement that he alone and what they have developed is going to change the construction industry. You guys should be talking, and I mean that sincerely. Joel and Peter and George, I think that's a good conversation to have, because what Joel has done with Splash Modular is they have taken the design of all the modular components, bath pods, modules, all of these things. They've designed it in a virtual type world in the cloud. So now as an architect, you don't have to keep redesigning from scratch. It's almost an open source. You can collaborate with all these different people and pull in pieces. So you don't, and it saves you design time, but it's really interesting what Joel's doing. I highly suggest. Thanks for tuning in, Joel. I'm glad you hopped on today, for sure. So very good. We got Mark Willey, collaboration and innovation. Now Mark Willey, another guy, huge, used to run Passive House Europe, here in the United States, big into net zero construction and healthy homes. Another good person to start with. Joel made a comment here. It all starts with design, and high quality design is the key to unlocking the full potential of industrialized construction. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. It's very true. And Joel brings up another point here. I'll get on my soapbox a little bit. We keep saying we have an identity crisis here. I'm going to ask you what we should call our industry at the end of the show. So think about it while we're doing this. Because right now we're offsite construction, we're modular construction, we're volumetric construction, we're industrialized construction, and it just goes, we're manufactured construction. So we often say, is there one word that we can use? But it all means the same. All right. Mark, great going. Peter and George, Dave, thank you very much. Anthony Good, who's a lead AP, George calling this the beginning of architecture makes a lot of sense. That is a great quote. Because it really is it's the new beginning of architecture, for sure. All right. We also have Tom Colson, Colorado Springs, joining us. Tom, your picture doesn't show up there. Maybe we can find it somewhere else so I can share your mug with the world. All right. So let's keep rocking and rolling here. If anybody has questions for George and Peter or myself during this, I think, start putting them in the comments, because here's what's going to happen, right? As we move forward in this new way of construction, the new beginning of construction, right? It's going to take a change and a shift of mind like you guys are going through or have already done, and educate yourself on industrialized construction, volumetric, offsite, whatever we want to call it, and see the future of what's happening. And the future is really right at our doorstep now, because it's turning a lot. I mean, we're gaining so much momentum in the industry. So if you're out there and you're an architect, you're a designer, traditional or offsite, what does it take? What does it take for this really to catapult to the next level? And I'm a big believer, and we'll talk about this further in. I think bringing higher design like you guys bring to this industry is what it's going to take, for sure. All right, rambling on. Let's move to the next one. Love this one, right? Because we just had Mighty Buildings on, Sam Rubin, and they're 3D printing houses and ADUs. Get this, at 95% less labor, and within 24 hours they can have an entire shell done. Yeah, right? So now here's what's interesting. You guys have been doing 3D modeling already for years. This isn't new to you. You're not printing houses 3D, but the concept of using three-dimensional design, BIM style design software, and really being able to build it 2 or 3 times on paper, on the computer, or on a printer, as opposed to fixing things in the field, I believe is why you guys are so successful, and why you guys are building buildings, on time, on budget, all these different things. And I want to jump into, what is the technology? What is the 3D modeling? And then, if you want to elaborate on the music and more, because that's where these design ideas come from, I'd love to hear about that as well.
Sure.
Who's first?
I'm sorry. The 3D modeling, is really kind of, we have 4 3D printers kind of going all the time, and we look at things in different scale with it, so that we can print something in a massing model at a 1 to 30, a 1 to 40, really small. Look at it, and it becomes a little bit of a sculptural piece. And then what we'll do, the team will take just a wall section or a cut through a balcony detail and print that at a much larger scale, so we can look at and study that. And that allows us to be able to make sure that the systems structurally obviously are working, because if they're going to work at that small scale and we're looking at it, we know we can just blow that up and do exactly what's being done with these houses. It allows us to innovate too, and look at different patterning on facades, and getting things that can be done, again, economically, but look, again, very, very much like it's a unique element. And the music, interesting enough, you could download all kinds of music today, electronic music, and you could there's a lot of musicians out there that are musicians that don't play anything in today's world, and we look at that. I personally look at that as, guitar. There's always guitars all over the studio, and music is architecture. There's no question, because if a building can be as fluid as your favorite song, then it works. It's successful. So I think a painting and a song and architecture, there's just no way to not combine those things.
You know what?
One of the things that I've come to understand, particularly again, don't let me kid you, is just because I can't play it, it doesn't mean I don't understand it. And every type, there's no music type, from electronic to the opera. One of the things that we share a lot, Peter and I, when we discuss about how music is written, how a painting is painted, how a movie is made, and we share this conversation continuously, because it pretty much has come to life that's how we design. Sometimes we start with components that you would not believe, and then that component gets stored. And then we go to another part of it, and so on. And then we go to sort of like almost like the editing room, when we bring it together. never forgetting what the concept and goal was. And then all of a sudden I read about how musicians write really good music. You think they sit and they hum it and they do it, and architects just sit and do a sketch and then they refine it. Well, no, we actually do it exactly like that. So that means that's why music and art and so on plays such a great role in what we do, because that's exactly how we design buildings. And then, of course, it gets me all excited thinking that now I really understand how pieces are put together. And then Peter will call me and say, I'm working on this piece or something. I forget what he's talking about. He says, no, I'm going to send it to you. And he sends me this music, and then he'll send me the final version the next day.
Right.
And well, what happened to it? And he changed it, and then we apply it to the work that we're doing. And it's funny. It's just like if you ever see a movie without editing and without music, pretty boring. And then you take our video and you put his music to it, and it's just like it's made to order, because it is made to order, because we did it the same way we designed the architecture.
Yeah, for sure. Mark Willie, who's joining in the conversation here, he always says that buildings talk to him. Like he can like feel it and see it and hear it, and buildings really do speak, right? It comes back to the whole idea what you said. And I put a post out yesterday where, cars don't leak. Why do buildings leak? Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean that they talk. You can just look at something, and if you listen to it and watch it and visualize it enough, you can actually see what's happening. And for you guys, you take it to a whole nother level where it's talking to you from an artistic level, from a design perspective, as well as a functionality level. And I think that's really key in your design. For sure. All right. Love it. So here's a big thing. GarciaStromberg's GS4 studios bring life to offsite construction. Why don't you guys tell us in your words, where you see offsites going and the value that you guys are really looking to add in this, and why it's so important to be part of this?
Absolutely. I think it goes back to some of the things that have been said throughout this conversation, is that kit of parts, whether it's a building, whether it's coordinating with offsite companies. I think we have to bring that in early on in our design process. We're always thinking about it, and it's just like with our design. When we design a building, a high-rise building, a mid-rise building, we always look at different ways to come up with more unique but very efficient cores for that building. And then we might do a building 2 months later and say, hey, wait, we designed that, bring it over here and use it in this. And if we can get, and we were having this conversation with a client the other day, and we were looking at an early start on getting a shell permit for the building, because that gives us about 3 to 4 months worth of work, get them in the ground and get going. And it's basically all just the raw concrete. And at that same time, we could be working with offsite in those plug-in modules of all the kitchens and the bathrooms, so that can be delivered and come in and have that seamless operation. There's just no reason not to think that way. I think getting the totality of a 7, 8, 9, 10-story building, 15-story building, of doing the whole entire shell modular with a lot of the clients and developers the way they think is probably a bit difficult. I think we look at it as sort of starting to bring things in that smaller way, kind of like we were looking at AC Marriott, and that's what the buyer and that's what the end user is looking at anyway. It's that beautiful sort of quality and those tolerances that are developed from that offsite in those elements of the kitchens and the most critical points.
Yeah,
to us, there's just there's no debate or discussion about this being the way it's going to go. We just don't even argue about it. Just a matter of how do we fit into it? How do we design to it? How do we bring it? Just like bringing any other technology, the idea of doing this, I think it's also going to happen very fast. The better the technology. I mean, in just about it. I guess we've been doing this a few years, looking into how we're going to snuggle up into this program of offsite construction, and then all of a sudden, you visit it again. The advancements have been incredible. The exponential growth of that industry, we knew we had to be part of it because it's going to provide us with the ability to do even better work. And frankly, I think that the world of necessary housing, we did a lot of social interest housing in Central and South America for various years. And that could be the tremendous solution to a lot of those. Instead of building hot boxes out throughout the landscape in Panama or Nicaragua and wherever we worked in 3 or 4 countries, we were already doing it there. 300 and 400 square foot homes that, like I said, were used to be little rectangles of absolute torture. Instead, we came in and were able to work with the manufacturers of the formwork, the formaletas folks from Colombia, and began to create communities out of it. I think that offsite is the tremendous opportunity for solutions to some of the world's housing problems. If we can collaborate with some of those folks that they can listen to us in terms of design, because just to build it offsite and bring out a container, everybody, oh no, you can build with containers from China. That's not offsite construction. That's just the latest marketing ploy. We think that the printing of these components off-site and then bringing them assembly on site is going to be a great move in the world of social interest housing.
Yeah, no, I definitely see your point on that and agree with you. And I think that as the industry evolves and offsite continues to grow and production abilities continue to grow, I think it's going to be one of the solutions towards the housing crisis that's not only here in the country. We're 1 million shy just alone here, let alone globally, right? It's a big deal. Why don't we screen share and go back to your portfolio a little bit? Let's just give everybody here a quick rundown so they can visually see what it is that you guys are really up to, because I think it's that important to take a look at here. All right, can you guys see that? Perfect.
Yes.
All right. So we had a meeting not too long ago and we went through some of these things, but Peter, George, is there one of these that you'd like to just kind of showcase and give us a walkthrough?
Huh.
Any of them? I mean, look at them. They're beautiful.
That's like asking us which of our children we love the most.
I absolutely love it. How about Pier 66, since we talked about it earlier?
I don't think that's up there yet. It's kind of in process, but the AC is a very good one right there. I think you're over it right now, because that one we had looked, very thoroughly at, taking this hotel, taking a 3-level parking podium and restaurant on the ground floor, and then basically taking what is a modular system of hotel rooms in there. And then skinning it. So it was different methodologies of construction, but then skinning it with these different terraces and balconies to get this form. So we didn't have a very geometric look to it. We wanted to get it a little bit more organic, and that's where the city really fell in love with it and what it was able to do. And it would have been such an interesting project to do that, to showcase something like that. But that's kind of and this one's actually almost built. It was not built with offsite technologies, but that's where the design process started on this one.
We don't do it in every project, because we have the privilege that we have an interior design division, which is when it happens that we are lucky enough to be commissioned to do both. It really brings it together then, because some interior packaging in today's, particularly the repetitive world of the hospitality industry and so on, working the interiors together with the architecture, the economies of scale are tremendous. I mean, like I said, we don't do it all the time. In fact, we're doing the interiors to projects that we're not doing the architecture, and which is kind of interesting. You work with other architects and bring that into play, and it's the dialogue is interesting. We do like to do that, actually, and work with other architectural firms. Not always the easiest thing.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that's everybody has their ideas on what they want to do. This project in general, and I know it wasn't built with offsite, but you had some design concepts that you were looking at using offsite construction. But for any project, the whole building does not have to be offsite. if you can, obviously that speeds things up. But the reality of it is, there are some limitations in what can be done off site. And if we look at this building, between the bath pods, room size, especially hospitality space, for the most part, it's a fairly rectangular building. You created the balconies and the terraces, and all of that stuff is what gives the building character and adds that high design to it as well. And I think you're absolutely right. I don't think a lot of people would look at a building like this and think it's possible to design it with offsite in mind.
Right. And if you go back, Dave, and you look at even another project we did on the beach in Lauderdale, the same concept, because the majority of it, if you go down, and it's actually they're going to be the first column on the left, right there, the one down from that, right there. So this building was literally right around the corner, and this building again was made up of restaurants and ground floor retail and podiums. And then up above it, you basically had 6 levels of hotel rooms, which could have easily been, I'm not sure what's going on, easily been incorporated. And then above that, you have 30 stories of condos, which at the same level, you can easily incorporate into that, those pods.
Yeah, that one's not pulling up. Let me try a different one.
And you can go over on the right, down on the right. Actually, the Gale's a good one to look at. Go up a little bit, Dave. If you keep going up, right there on the right-hand side, the Gale, right there. Would have been ideal. Again, a building that was much more. This is right around the corner from the AC. And this is a project that actually combines hotel and residences. And the residents were all designed, and we designed it all modularly in the units. And these three, and usually these condos or these mid-sized apartments are 3-bay wide, 4-bay wide type of elements. And you can look at the lobbies, and you can look at these rooms here and see how easily it would have been to as you just mentioned, to design several components of these buildings in there that could have saved a tremendous amount of time and money probably at the end of the day. And if you look at that, and that's basically putting together, not much different than a hotel. We have bays that are, in hotels that are 12 to 15 feet wide, same exact thing in condos and high-rise multifamily projects.
I love it. And that's a rooftop. Is that a rooftop pool?
We have 3 rooftop pools on this
three
building.
Rooftop pools here.
Yeah. 3.
And they don't leak.
That is amazing. And they don't leak. Well, that's key, right?
Yeah.
You got to do them out of stainless?
You got to build a bathtub.
Yeah, you got to put it out of stainless and throw them on the roof, and then put concrete underneath them anyway.
Right. Well, guys, listen. This is, it's absolutely amazing, and I can't say it enough. Having your talent in our industry, I think, is a big deal. And I know that there is a lot of manufacturers out there that work with architects and what have you, and I know you've spoken to a few already. I think it's going to bring a lot of value to our industry, and I mean that from my heart, honestly, because I don't think a lot of people think the way that you think when it comes to offsite and volumetric, and sometimes I think we can be stuck in our own way in our industry. And having your unique perspective on it is a big deal.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, thanks. Sure. All right, so let's go. We got one more. Let's go to some comments and questions here, and then I'll wrap it up. Joel Hutchins, there he goes. I am interested in hearing more on why projects that you intend to be modular don't eventuate and become site built.
I'm interested in hearing from.
Yeah, so how come more of your projects that you want it to be manufactured modular do not convert?
Well,
good question.
That's a terrific question, and we find that there has to be our next task, other than we falling in love with the system and believing in the system and the protocol and the industry. There has to be a lot more campaigning and a lot more sales of it to the folks in the industry. I just was in a panel yesterday for the South Florida construction industry, and they need to be a lot more informed. Clients need to be a lot informed. The word is not getting out, and I think that's our next task. We feel, Peter and I, that we have. It is really, if we want to get it done, just like we've been able to get projects built that nobody dreamed that you could do it for the budget. I think we need to do a better job of convincing our clients that this is a methodology that has to be explored.
It's education, absolutely.
The ignorance about this and the misconception is mind-blowing. And yet, because we're interested in it, I go to New York and I see the Marriott going up, or I go someplace else and we see them printing houses like toothpaste and so on. I think that there needs to be a better job, and we in the design industry need to do it a better service than what we're doing it so far. So we plan to do that, but we need partners so that we can go kind of on the road show and convince our clients, because we have pretty bright clients. I'm telling you, people like Tavistock and some others that we work with, they get it, and I think if we push the envelope further, they're going to jump in that envelope together with us.
Yeah, I think it's happening. I think it's just been a process of learning and understanding, what it can do. And I think George is right. Getting it in early is huge, and getting those people to the table with the clients when we're talking about these things, even with the salespeople, bring it back to that, because it's education and getting the word out there. Because I think once you do, there's really no reason why you wouldn't at the end of the day. I mean, it's a better process. Yeah,
for sure. All right, so here we have somebody else commenting on Joel. Henry Mickelberg. Henry, good to see you. Henry, France, coming in from France. Joel Hutchins, it's either A, complicated, or B, it went a bit curvy. And I think, well, Henry normally writes something up. When he does tune in, it'll cover the whole page sometimes. But Henry has been in this industry for a long time, and he does offsite construction around the world. Dubai, Emirates, all over the place, and has been in this. But I think you guys are absolutely right. It comes down to, there's the perception, and this is why I keep saying it's so valuable to have architectural firms such as yourself, design firms, looking at our space, because it's going to take the collaborative effort of all of us pulling in the same direction to kind of paint the picture of why this is a better way to build. It's coming, it's happening, but you're right. Somebody who's spending $300 million on a project, they're trying to figure out why this is. And this is what's so important about what we're doing today, because, if the folks like Joel Hutchinson and Henry Mickelberg and, these big manufacturers that have been doing this for a long, long time around the world collaborate with what you guys are doing and these big projects that you're doing, that's how it's going to come together. And that's how our whole industry is going to benefit. And that's how the whole industry is going to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let me see. I see some more banners and comments popping up here. All right, Jennifer put something up. GS4 Studios, investors who embrace industrialized construction. We need a collaborative effort to make this happen. Absolutely. And the other comments are going back. You're going to find this, guys. Like, sometimes I don't think people even tune in to talk to us. They tune in because there's this whole banter that happens in the sidebar. But that's what it's all about, is the connecting. And I'm sure these, some of these people on this call will definitely reach out to you, because you're absolutely right. You need some collaboration, and I believe that several people on this live stream today are hopefully going to reach out to you and work with you on how to convert some of these other projects and work together to do it. All right, Jared Gross, terrific discussion so far. Design is paramount to the success of any project, in my opinion. Thanks, Jared. Jared does a lot around 3D construction, videos, things of that nature. So appreciate you always tuning in, Jared. What do you guys think? Am I out of wind, or are you out of wind?
No, we're never out of wind.
You're talking to George, Dave. You're talking to George. Come on, man.
I know. I love it. Well, listen, guys. I mean, can you believe it? It's already been almost an hour.
It's a nice conversation.
It goes fast because we really are focused on this, and we believe that, like anything else, that there's so much resistance to things. We kid around, but that when we bring up these ideas of how to do it together, first we have to believe that the construction industry and the design industry are one in the same. Yeah. If you look at the world of prop tech and all the integrated technologies that are occurring out there, it's not about how we do things ourselves, and it's not about how the construction industry does things. It's how we can do them together. If we believe that together, then we've got to find, and then the questions can't be as simple as, well, how much am I going to save? If I hear that one more time, well, you're going to save 6 months in putting heads on beds in a hotel, or you're going to be able to not have to come back and do a punch list that takes 2 months, because there is no punch list when you're fabricating, and the punch list was done back at the fabrication point. There's the virtues are not just measured by the number of days equating to a number of dollars. It equates to the holistic delivery of a project in our world, and in the ability to design more for less.
Yeah, 100%. You said something that came up in yesterday's conversation with Helena Lidlow, the head of R&D for Limbax over in Sweden. She said same thing you just said, George, and this is what I think so powerful, that design in her world, design and production are the same. Exactly. They are the team. There is no separation, because their input on what they're doing and the design side needs to be accurate and on point for the production point process to happen. So they don't separate the two as two separate. They work together collaboratively. Is that the word? So to make it happen. So what you just said was spot on. And I think a lot of people need to start looking at that different. Design in the actual build process is one. It's not two. Yep. It is one, not two. All right. So we got a couple things up here. I'm just going to make a comment on real quick so we can put it up there. Joel said, Henry Mickelberg, the simple fact that there is no software that enables architects to simply design within the confines of what is achievable. And he's talking about offsite. There is no one, well, except for what Joel's probably working on, there's no one software that simplifies production design. It's coming. People are working on it, but we're using traditional design software that has been traditionally used to design piece by piece on site, stick frame or site frame. Now they're starting the things to come out, and I think that's what we were talking, what he was talking about there. So that is happening. All right, everybody, listen. I really appreciate you guys taking the time for joining us today. This was a lot of fun. We're going to continue this conversation, and we're going to continue to hopefully have you guys on the show. We want to share the journey, and we really want to help you guys grow what you're doing currently. And this is step one to hopefully a wonderful, long, fabulous journey in offsite construction for the GarciaStromberg team. I love it.
You got it.
Thank you.
Perfect. Right. Thank you. Look forward to it.
Yeah, we do as well. All right, everybody. That was an episode of DaveCooper.live, and it was a special episode, and we really wanted to highlight this because this is a big deal. The word needs to get out there for GarciaStromberg. They're a big supporter in helping change the way we design and things that we're doing. And as you know, on this channel, we just don't put anybody on. These are people that are doing big things, making big changes. And when we have people that are doing $100 million plus projects regularly in several locations and globally, it's really important that we all help out, tune in, and change the way we build, the way we think we build. So, George, Peter, I love it, man. Thanks so much. I look forward to chatting further with you. You guys hang tight, and I'll come right back to you after the end of the outro.
You got it. Thanks, Dave.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Bye now.